Hi there everybody, welcome. Nice to have you on the lesson for healthcare clinics of 2020. So if you are running a healthcare clinic, or I imagine you're either running one or you're responsible, at least in some part, for growing it. So that can be any type of health clinic, whether that's wellness, beauty, fitness, or general medicine, surgical, any type of health clinic where you're getting appointments from clients and they're coming for either one appointment, a couple appointments, a procedure, and ideally coming for many times, then this is going to be a fantastic lesson for you. I will just recap that it will be about 30 to 40 minutes probably to get through all of this, and I'm gonna go sort of at a good pace. So definitely, if you can, just have some notes ready. I'm gonna email this to you already if you've got here by giving your email address, so you'll be able to click that and come back to this if you need to. All of this digital disruption that we talked about, all of these other players, you can't control what they do, but you can control what you do. You can make an oath right now. You can promise yourself that you are this year going to sort out your digital advertising end to end into a CRM, the communication with past customers, the whole customer journey from the first time they become aware of you to being a loyal repeat customer. That is going to be automated and perfectly. You can attribute everything to all campaigns. Get that done for 2020. It's really not as difficult as it needs to be. Make that your goal for this year. Even if it's the end of the year, still, you've just got to get it done. So I hope you guys all agree with that. If you don't, then maybe this is the wrong video for you. But if you are struggling with appointments, if you are struggling with the effectiveness of campaigns on these areas, or you're struggling with the profitability of those campaigns, as I say, this is the place for you. Now, before we crack into all of these areas, I'm just going to quickly cover what I see as just some basic do's and don'ts. If you're really vanilla to marketing, digital advertising, I'm going to go through these very quickly. And this is our brainy tips, our do's and don'ts before we get into these areas. So, obviously, do have a digital booking process. For a lot of people, this is old news, but some healthcare clinics don't actually have a digital booking process. Obviously, to run any digital advertising, you're going to need a digital booking process, ideally. Yes, some people do like to phone in to book, but the majority of people, when surveyed, about 70% of people say they want an online booking experience. And if your online booking experience needs more love, now's the time to invest in it, certainly before you do any of these tactics. Okay, so the other do is think about geographic targeting. So whether you're using social media advertising, Google ads, you can select postcodes, you can select radiuses around postcodes where you want your ads to actually launch. So depending on whether people are likely to travel to your clinic or not, you need to think about that geo fence, as it's called, and only run your ads within that. Otherwise, you'll be wasting a ton of money on ads that are just going to people completely out of the realistic radius of actually coming to your clinic. Do enable email nurturing campaigns. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. You want to be communicating en masse with your customers using automated emails. So if somebody comes in through some campaign, you want to be sending them educational content. You want to be sending them reminders of their consultation, of their appointments. You want to be communicating with them after those, aftercare stuff, aftercare tips, getting them in for a second one. All of that needs to be happening at scale and needs to be on a per treatment, per customer life cycle phase approach. Okay, so you want to, whatever happens, even before you start getting contacts and new potential customers and patients into the door, you need to have this infrastructure, this nurturing infrastructure in place so that you can rely that, okay, if someone books for a consultation and they're a no-show, I know that they're going to get loads of emails that's going to go out to them about, rescheduling another one, etc. You don't have to be running around and creating newsletters on the fly every week, thinking of something. It's all happening, and it's all happening at scale. And this is actually a more personalized way of speaking to your potential and existing customers. So another one is, do be aware of the various platforms' healthcare rules. So if it's your first time running a Facebook ad, or first time running a Google ad, you're going to want to make sure you research for your specific niche what some of these sensitivities are around keywords and no words for these different platforms. So for instance, you can't say depression or anxiety without getting an ad flagged up as a psychology clinic. countless examples in others, and this can be annoying because you can build this great strategy, build these great ads, only to have them suspended or not pass approval because they mention some of the naughty words. The other thing is, don't use too much technical jargon. So this applies to your website and all of your educational marketing materials, which are really important and we'll get into. You can't be talking with too much technical jargon. You have to speak in a way that consumers can understand, and don't assume that everybody knows even anything about the jargon, and they might still be a perfect customer for you. You want to ease them into that, certainly when they're first getting to know or research what they need to be doing with your clinic. And the last one is just don't violate any privacy laws. We've had clients of ours who, use some footage of their clinic, who use some images of past patients, and that kind of backfired on them because there's actually very strict patient confidentiality laws in place to protect identities of patients, which you'll no doubt be aware of. And so you need to make sure that when it comes to things like GDPR or using any of those images of their issues, or if you're trying to show images of procedures or whatever, you need to make sure you get, you really have strict processes in place to make sure you get that. Otherwise, you can get hit with pretty severe fines if you're caught and the person is in a bad mood. So that's the just basic do's and don'ts. I hope that's useful. Now let's get into the meat of the matter. Okay, so let's crack on with the first one. I'm going to be sitting at a bit of an angle here because I want to get to this board. But you'll see this get filled out as we go along. I did think that I was going to stand up and write some stuff, but actually I don't think that's going to work because frankly, the angle is very unflattering, and I'm just sitting there scribbling and the whole thing is wobbling. So let's continue without that. So the first thing about SEO is it obviously stands for search engine optimization. If you're completely new to this, that basically means you're trying to get your website to rank on Google when people are searching for certain things. So there's no use your website coming up on search results when people are searching for cat food. You really want it to come up around stuff that people are searching when they're looking for treatments or they need appointments to do stuff that you do. So for instance, if somebody is searching about molar extraction or something, you want for a dentistry practice, that's going to be a great thing. If somebody is talking about laser hair removal, that's a great thing for a beauty clinic. So that's the sort of general idea. And when people are searching in Google, ideally you want to come up in the organic ranking so that you come up 1, 2, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th position or whatever. And your website is there when somebody is searching for those things. The hope is they then go to your website, they read about what you have to say about the treatment or the procedure or whatever. They learn about your clinic, they check out the location, whatever, then they give you a call. So that's fantastic. That's how it works in principle. Obviously, everybody is trying to do this. And if you're in a particularly choked part of the market, you're going to find a lot of competition when you're trying to rank organically. So the first tip I have is to optimize for long tail keywords. Now, what does that mean? Well, long tail just means the keywords that are not the specific not the specific short tail keyword, which are typically kind of more general and more obvious. So for instance, if you were to try and rank a page for teeth whitening, that's going to get you people that potentially are just, it's a much broader search term, and lots of phrases or search terms might have teeth whitening. Ideally, if you're starting out, you have a limited budget or limited time to invest in SEO, you want to do very, very long tail keywords. So an example of that would be, how much does teeth whitening cost? That's much more specific, and you're trying to rank your page for that specific string of words rather than just teeth whitening in general. Now, what that's going to do is two things. There's a few things. So the first thing is, teeth whitening will have a lot more search volume because it's a more general term and fits into a lot more sentences. But and how much teeth whitening cost is going to have a lot less search volume, which means that there's less people competing after it. The bigger players will all be going after the obvious stuff, more or less, you can be sure of that. Far less people are going to be going for the outliers. And so if you do a very good long tail research and strategy, you can actually come up with some really cool phrases that have, yes, they don't have the most amount of search volume, but they are specific and they do have low amounts of competition. Additionally, because you're going after these very focused keywords, you're going to actually be getting a much more focused target audience, which actually positively impacts conversion rates. So what it'll also do is it's basically going to mean that overall you're going to rank higher anyway. So as long as you produce the content associated with these long tail keywords very, very well, then people are going to love that content and they're going to get a lot of value out of it. And because they're really niche or specific long tail sentences, you're going to really be delighting people that are coming through to a page all about that's really helping them. And what that means is Google is now its algorithms are now looking at how useful your content is, and that's measured by how long people stay and they consume it. It's not just a question of stuffing keywords onto pages and hoping that you rank, but Google is now actually inferring the use in all sorts of more artificially intelligent ways. So you actually have to produce great content. Like if I just took you to if you just clicked on my ad to come and watch this lesson, and I showed you just pictures of cats for 20 minutes, that would not be very useful. So if you use that, and in this case, YouTube would be saying, okay, anyone who's searching for marketing tips, they're not in the healthcare industry, they're not going to recommend my video, because as soon as people get there, they watch the first 10 seconds of cats and realize this is all nonsense and they leave. So it's the same thing with your written content. It has to be fire. It has to be absolutely amazing. And you do this long enough and you gather up, 50 searches, 100 searches, whatever, for these long tail keywords, you create great content. Eventually your entire site is going to get a boost, and those pages you are trying to rank, like maybe your service pages, for those more obvious, commercially minded short tail keywords, is going to go up anyway, because the whole sort of relevance and credibility of your entire site, because of this good work you've been doing on long tail, is going to boost up the rest of your site and pages that are going for the short tail. So hope that makes sense. That's the first tip. Right, so the second thing we've got here is called micro moments. This is a new sort of concept, and this is all about this trend that Google has noticed, that consumers are really attached or really interested in brands that deliver on stuff that they're researching very, very quickly. So we've all had this idea where this phenomenon where you're sitting at the television and maybe you realize that that mole on your leg is looking a bit suspect, that actually a lot of people are commenting about the extra chest hair that you have, and so you need to quickly work out everything about solving that issue and where you can get it done. And there's 4 key micro moments that people go through, and it's almost like the SEO buyer's journey. And you need to have content on your website that caters for each of the moments along this stage. These are all sort of like little epiphany moments, 4 epiphany moments that people have on their way towards actually ending up booking a service. And so your website really needs to be optimized with this in mind. Think about your treatments and reverse engineer it based on what I'm talking about here. So the first micro moment that someone is going to have is all around, what is this disease or condition? What are the symptoms of this? Or, what is the problem with that, or whatever it is. So you're going to have to create informative content. This is all very informative, educational stuff that's got everything they could possibly need to know about, what is that thing? Do I what is the problem? Please explain to me what the problem with this issue is. Even if it's something cosmetic, you can talk about why people dislike it, what some people say about that, etc. The second micro moment is, where can I get treated for that thing? So this relies on you having a good Google business listing. So obviously in the local area, if people are searching for near me, then you're going to appear on the Google listing. So really invest a lot of time in the Google listing so that you can appear for that. The third one is, who can I trust? And this is all about your positive reviews. So all of your content that's going to fall under the who can I trust micro moment. These are going to be keywords around, who are the best people out there. You want to have your leading consultants or your leading practitioners on that. You want to have lots of positive reviews all over, all the social proof whether you're in website, whether you're in publications or you've been speaking at places, you want to have all of your social proof on that sort of content. And the last one, when someone actually is ready, is how do I book an appointment? That's the sort of last micro moment on this, and that's all around having the best booking process possible, easy to locate contact information on all of the pages associated with that micro moment. And so hopefully that helps you to understand that, within your SEO, you should be thinking about search terms from a buyer's journey perspective. So first it's awareness, then education, then consideration, then conversion, right? So it's the same sort of concept but applied in SEO. You want to categorize your long tail keywords based on which moment is that person in, and get them everything they need to know about that as speedily as possible on one page, internal links if you need to. And you're going to have, apparently Google is saying this is very effective for healthcare clinics. Okay, now we're going to move to Google Ads. So this is the same concept as SEO. It's in this sense, though, we're paying Google to put us to the top of the pack. So some of those short tail keywords we mentioned before, yes, it's difficult in SEO to rank for those, not so in Google Ads, because we're paying Google to put you in pole position for those. So you really want to focus your keywords on by targeting the bottom funnel keywords. So when we talked about those micro moments, you want people who are ready to transact, they're ready to book an appointment, they've already done their research phase, and they understand what's involved more or less, and they now just want to find a good provider of those treatments. So they hopefully will pick you if they search something like ADHD treatment London, ADHD assessment London. That's much better than someone saying, what is ADHD? The latter is still in the decision making. Yes, you can find a long tail combination, including that, create some great content for that. Yes, do that by all means, but leave that to your SEO work, to your blog pages, your other pages. With Google Ads, because you're paying every time someone clicks, you want to make sure that you're paying only for stuff that you can be quite certain is going to lead to someone seeing a page of yours and potentially booking. So when you go through your list of keywords that you want to pick, make sure that you pick the ones that really do indicate someone who wants to transact and not just someone who is researching. The second thing you want to do is look at creating custom landing pages. So if you have various treatments or various options with your clinic, then you'll definitely be wanting a separate landing page for each of these. These would be under your services, you'd have different treatments. You definitely do not want Google Ads going to just your homepage and letting people figure it out from there. You want to have your ad copy talking about a specific treatment and that leading to a page all about that specific treatment. Now, there's a lot of stuff that you want to have on that page to have the highest chance of converting someone into a booking. And so that would be things like each landing page, the visitor has all the information that they need about the exact treatment that you're offering in a concise way, not too much jargon, exactly what the process is, what it costs, what the less specific stuff like maybe the history of your clinic, and also who the specialists are and what their backgrounds are, and just the social proof that comes with that. You might also very, very high up on each page have some social proof. This is happy clients with their express consent saying how much they enjoyed being at your clinic and how successful their treatments were, things like this. And lastly, they need to be structured for conversion. So there needs to be real guidance on what the user is supposed to do next. If it's to give them a call, if it's to book online, you need to have a really slick call to action at all the different points, the break points along the page. And you should use clickable phone numbers on your pages as well. So if someone wants to call you, most browsing is done on a mobile phone. They can just click that number, load it up and call straight away. Third point I'm going to cover here with Google Ads is geotargeting, and just to break that down a little bit more for you. So obviously, let's say you run a fertility clinic, it's going to be a lot harder to get people who live 50 miles away from you unless you have a really outstanding record, which you may do. I'm not knocking that or suggesting you might not, but it's going to be definitely a lot easier to convert the average person if they are around the corner, within 5 miles of your location. So what you want to do is each of the locations where you have your clinics, you want to set up concentric rings of geo-targeted area around that. So you might do 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles around each location. and you can actually get Google to have different bidding for each of them. So you might say, I want my ads that are within 5 miles, I want to bid higher for these keywords, and if they're in 10 miles, I'll bid lower, and so on and so on and so on. So you can use these concentric ring approach so that if there is cheap advertising that you can take advantage of further off, why not? But really what you want to be making sure you do is that you're getting in front of the people who are very close to you, and you can even have that in your landing page copy that you are within short distance or longer distance depending on the ring. Right, the fourth one, it might sound like a boring one if you already know your way around Google Ads, but strict negative keywording. So you're going to, strict keyword negativing, sorry, got mixed up my words there. And this means that you're going to have to stay very on top of your search terms, even though you've done this work in the beginning when you're setting up the campaign to make sure you've got the keywords that are really relevant in terms of the person wants the appointment, they're not looking at research. You still need to bear in mind that a lot of people's intent behind those keywords, while it seems obvious to you on paper, actually is very different in practice. And so you need to be looking at the conversions you're getting by keyword and then negativing the keywords and just deleting them when you find out that they are not converting. So a lot of the problems we also see for some healthcare clinics is that a lot of people are searching for treatments based on the NHS. So for instance, Fertility Clinic, client of ours, a lot of people believe that some of that stuff is actually on the NHS, and some of it is. Some of the services they offer actually are in certain circumstances, and so a lot of people are actually searching with that. So, for instance, you might want to negative the word NHS in anything. So, if anyone has anything to do with NHS, despite having the other words that you're interested in, then you want to make sure that they're really out. So if you don't do that, obviously you're going to be burning and wasting loads of money on clicks. The return on investment is going to be a lot harder to prove in Google Ads because you're going to be wasting all this money on people that aren't relevant. So make sure you negative so you're only working with the highest converting keywords that you possibly can. The final point I want to go over here is all about accurately doing your conversion tracking. Now, you will need to have some knowledge of Google Tag Manager to do this properly, but what I want to say about this is the following. You should not be tracking, as I see a lot of healthcare clinics do when we take over their Google AdWords, we notice that they are tracking random events like number of page views or time spent on a page, random stuff like this that actually does not count as a conversion in the typical sense. All you should be looking at is forms filled in, appointments booked, or number or calls made. So in order to track calls made, don't just put your mobile phone, don't just put the phone number of your clinic there. Use a Google dynamic number. This is a number that you get from Google, which is a variable number that's different for every single person that sees it. And when they call that number, it reroutes and then calls your number, and it attributes that number as a conversion because someone has actually, you know that somebody has come from that page because they're calling a number that's unique to that page. Nowhere else on the internet can you find that number. So that's how we do it when we're doing that. Furthermore, it's not just good enough to get your tracking properly organized on your website, but you also need to have this attributed in your CRM. So yes, when these contacts and these appointments get sent through your CRM, then your inquiry team can deal with them and they'll be labeled as fresh, leads or inquiries. You then need to have that follow through. So as they go through from being an inquiry into a customer, you can then start attributing the actual revenue, the actual customer lifetime value that you're getting from all of these channels. Because if you just think, okay, this is how many leads I'm getting, but actually that channel, that number of inquiries, it doesn't really help you, then it's actually not going to be a good channel for you. You want to know how much money, cold hard cash, am I actually making from this? And the only way you can do that is by closing the circle and tying back your individual ads and keywords to people that 100% pay you. And you have to link up your CRM and your Google advertising to do that. All right, and so that takes us to the final section over here, which is paid social. Now, notice I didn't just say social media, okay? I said paid social, and this actually lies at the heart of the problem. And I've even done these ones in red just to show you how important they are. And hopefully this is going to be, a lot of the value that you take out of this will also be because this is hopefully quite new stuff to you. So paid social is different to social media management. Just posting stuff on your desert ghost town Facebook page or Instagram page is not going to magically result in customers. If people cannot see these posts, if they cannot see you and they're not targeted in the right way, then it doesn't matter. If you have all of the Boy Scouts as your Facebook followers, it doesn't matter if they're even seeing or engaging with your content if they're not your ideal target market, okay? So social media management, organic social, has to be done in line with your other content marketing, like your SEO pages, but it's not something that I want to focus on here. It's not going to drive bookings at the level that you probably need, and it's certainly not something social media management is not something you should be focusing on to any significant degree or as a special area of interest if you're looking for appointments and you're at the phase where you're just looking for appointments. Okay, you need to look at these social media channels as a paid channel like Google Ads, and that's going to just reframe how you think about the whole thing. So let's get into the first one here then. So I'm going to talk about discovery. So a big problem with healthcare clinics is they think that it's impossible to target people using Facebook. So Facebook is very different to Google or SEO. Facebook, which incidentally owns Instagram, so it's part of the same thing. When I say Facebook, I also mean Instagram. The way that you target on there is actually different. So you are basically saying, Facebook, show ads to the people that meet these criteria, and you're trying to work out who the right people are. And you can do that by demographics, location, you can do it by the interests they have, that Facebook thinks they have, the pages that they like, various things to define who you believe to be your audience, and you can send them ads. It's a lot cheaper to run these ads, but obviously if you run ads to women of a certain age to talk to them about fertility treatments, how many women of that age are actually looking for fertility treatments at that point? Whereas Google Ads, you know that they're looking for it because they are searching for it. So this is very much intent-based. This is display or advertising based. It's almost like a digital billboard. People are driving past it every single day, and every now and then someone says, you know what, I actually would like a refreshing Coca-Cola, and they stop at the gas station and they get one. So that's a very different thing. This is just digital billboards. This is something different. This is search intent-based advertising. That's why this is so powerful, and that's why this is obviously really it's a lot easier to set up and run, but a lot harder because there's a lot more competition. This, very hard to set up and run, but once you're doing it right, you almost have no competition, and you are going to have leads way cheaper than any of these two, like a fraction, maybe 10% of the price of the leads you're getting here. But it takes time, it takes investment to really get this right. And ideally, you combine it with the work that you've already done here. I'm going to get into that in the first point, which is discovery and awareness. So like I was saying, it's hard to target people for the first time. So if you had a fertility clinic, what can you really do? You can look at prenatal pages, women that are liking those, but chances are that means that by now they actually already have their child, because who knows when they like those pages. You could look at things like women of a certain age in certain locations, potentially, whether they're married or single, so their relationship status. You can get some way by using demographics to get some of the way there, but it's kind of difficult to do. What you really want to move towards with paid social is to use what's called a lookalike audience, and this is an audience that's based on the people that are on your website. So as people come to your website, you are tracking where they go, and then you are then serving them ads, or you're using their data to serve them ads. So there's something called the Facebook pixel, which is a bit of code that sits on your website. Now what this is going to do is it's going to register everyone coming to pages on your website, and it's going to store their Facebook ID. Later, you can log into Facebook and say, I want to run an ad, and the audience I want to choose is not these people of this age with these interests. I want to target only the Facebook IDs that are stored in my Facebook pixel. So you can see how powerful that is. You are basically sending ads to people that have already been to your site, often who have already searched for these things. So you can imagine, if you're only converting on your landing pages 5%, that's 95% of people that are interested, of traffic that you're not doing anything with. Now you can retarget them within Facebook, and you can use that data to create a lookalike audience. So to ask Facebook, hey, I've had 5,000, I've had 10,000 people hit my landing page for my specific treatment. I know they're interested in it. They haven't converted, but can you find me 100,000 other people that look exactly like those 10,000? And Facebook's AI is getting so good that it will say, yes, here is your audience of 100,000 that is based on these 10,000 Facebook IDs that are from your website. So I can actually tell you that these 100,000 are pretty much exactly the same as these 10,000. Now that's such a better way of looking for people on Facebook than simply trying to bash in what age they need to be, what location and all that, and trying to do it the manual way. Yes, you can do it that way, but if you've already been running Google Ads, if you already have some SEO going, you already have decent traffic, then you can do it like this. Now, so that's on the discovery stage. I hope that makes sense. So our next step would be educational. So this again follows a very typical marketing theory of someone becomes aware of you, then you educate them, then you convert them into a patient or into an appointment. So we've talked about how you would find these people on paid social by creating a bigger lookalike audience from the traffic that's already on your website using something called a Facebook pixel. So you've got them all there, you're sending ads out to them, and they are coming to your website. What you now need to do is the second level of retargeting. So you know that they are going to a treatment page about X or Y. So if you are a fertility clinic, you might have in vitro, you might have sperm donation, you might have egg donation, all sorts of different services or treatments that you have. And depending on what somebody is clicking on, obviously means that they're more interested in that thing. And you can track what they do around your website, again, using Google Tag Manager and Facebook Pixel in concert. And what you say is, if somebody is only interested in vitro content and in vitro stuff, then I know that they're actually really interested in vitro. And you can then follow them around the internet, follow them around Facebook and Instagram with really cool educational content about how the process works, why your clinic is the best at it. And you basically keep doing this on and on and on around the internet, bringing them back to your website and making sure that they get access to the content they need. Then the last step of this, again, following very much this theme, is the conversion stage. So at a certain point, you will know that this person they've just seen a lot. So you can say something like, they are the top 10% of your website users, as well as having seen at least 2 pages, something like that. These people are now ready for conversion ads, and that is to book an appointment, to book an initial consultation. You can even have these consultations booked through what's called a Facebook lead gen form. So that's where somebody can actually just pick from their email and their name, and they can put a time that they want to have their consultation, and that can get sent to your CRM directly from a Facebook ad. So they don't even need to come to your website. So once they've seen enough educational stuff, you're sure that they've been to your site X amount of times, they're in the top % of users, let's start switching up the ads we send to them to be much more around book an appointment, get your consultation, and getting them to actually do that. And if you want to have the least path of resistance, as I say, use a Facebook lead gen form and capture all of their details directly through Facebook. You'll then need to put them into your CRM and make sure that they attend that meeting by sending them more official looking emails, where maybe you might have the official booking link to say, yes, we've got you penciled in for X time, but you now need to pick your practitioner here or pick someone here. So there's lots of very clever things you can do by using a Facebook lead gen form and also your CRM. This also leads me to the point that if you have somebody's email address, I did mention before, you need to get on top of automation. I was debating whether to add a whole nother section here called automation, but sadly I don't think we have time today. I wanted to focus this on digital advertising. I may do a separate thing on automation for healthcare clinics in the future, but let's just recap for you that as soon as you get someone's email address, maybe you're going to send them the top guide to in vitro, and it's a downloadable PDF. Then they need to give you their email in order to get that PDF. You immediately know they're interested in vitro because they're willing to download a PDF about the subject. So you can then send them emails at this point, as well as further ads, asking them if they want to book an appointment, sending them more info, sending them case studies, etc. And this is what we call email nurturing. And so this is really important at the conversion stage to get someone to convert. You want to make sure that you're sending them stuff that is at the bottom end of the funnel. It's now time to book an appointment. So that is my wrap. So that's all I've got for you today, folks. I'm super happy you were able to join me here. I hope this lesson was really useful. I obviously put a lot of effort into this, and you may be asking, why has this guy sat here for half an hour telling me everything I need to know about, all of this stuff? Why has he done that? What's the catch? What next? Well, look, the whole point about doing this sort of thing is it's 100% free. It's always going to be free. I have a YouTube channel called Brainy Marketing. You can go there and you can get lots of content like this every single week. All of that stuff is free, and the whole point about this stuff is I'm showing you that my agency, The Brains, has expertise in this. Because you've given me your email to get to this page, most likely, I'm going to send you this presentation as a follow-up, so you can always have that. I'm going to send you other stuff to do with healthcare clinics and marketing and automation, going forward. So you're always going to have very tailored stuff to do just with healthcare clinic marketing. And this is just going to show you over time that I really know my stuff, that my agency really knows its stuff. And eventually, if you are looking for someone because you don't have enough time to run this stuff, or you need some support in your marketing team, whatever it is, hopefully the idea is that you'll reach out to me. So that's how content marketing works. At the end of the day, that's what you should be doing. That's the same approach that you should be doing. All of this Google Ads, paid social, SEO, this is just to get people into your database. But the story doesn't end there. You've got to do emailing. You've got to delight people with great content. And I hope I've put that across on this. And I hope I've given you some really practical tips here. Do let me know if you are actually watching this on YouTube. You can click somewhere on this video and it will take you to the actual video, which is on YouTube somewhere. And you can actually write comments. If you find anything interesting here, if you think I missed something, if you'd like me to cover anything else in a video, if you find this entertaining or a nice way to learn stuff, then by all means comment and let me know. Otherwise, I hope to catch you on another video. And I really hope that your healthcare clinic does really well this year. Take care.